Okay. Okay. Don, are we ready? Mr. Mr. Guardian? Good. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for a salute of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is convened in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey. Let the official minutes reflect that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by publishing a notice in the Asbury Park Press on Friday, March 27th, 2020, and forwarded to the Toms River Patch and WOBM News on Wednesday, March 25th, 2020, and thereafter posting same on the Town Hall Bulletin Board for such notices. The meeting has also been posted on the Township webpage. We have also updated our agenda on the Township webpage, so people that are viewing it live can follow with us. We will be taking questions from the public as our public comment this evening. The questions will be emailed to questions@tomsrivertownship.com. In that email, we need your name and your address and the town you live in for the record. At that time, they will be read by our deputy clerk, and they will be answered accordingly. Our public comment will be a half hour. Our meeting will go no later than 7:30, so we can abide by the governor's executive order for everyone to be in by 8 p.m. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Yurick. Councilwoman Yurick? Councilwoman Yurick?
Here. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you clearly. Councilman Kopp?
Here.
Councilman Latano?
Here.
Councilman Roderick?
Here.
Councilman Turnbach?
Here.
Council Vice President Gagan?
Here.
Council President Maruka?
Present. At this time, I'd like to bring up our former Lieutenant Governor, who is the CEO and also the President of Fulfill, which is formerly the Food Bank of Ocean and Monmouth Counties, to give us a public service announcement to our residents. We know we have a lot of residents that are out of work at this time, and food insecurity is high in our community, and they are here to help us. And I'm going to turn it over now to Kim Guadagno.
Councilwoman, Mayor, good to see you. Mayor, good to see you. And thank you for having me today. So I am the President and CEO of the Monmouth and Ocean County Food Bank, now called Fulfill. We also recently began to manage the People's Pantry, which is right here at 1769 Hoopers Avenue. And we have begun to pick up the slack of what's become a crisis. I don't need to explain to any of you about the pandemic. For those of you that are listening and not looking, we are in an empty room right now. Everybody's sitting, almost everybody's sitting 6 feet apart. As a result, though, here at Fulfill, we've done a lot of things in the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, I think this will shock most of you, but I brought the numbers. In the last 2 weeks, we have distributed 5,663 crisis boxes of food. Each one of those boxes has 3 bags in them, and in those 5,600 boxes of food, we've already distributed 141,000 meals. That's 141,000 meals more than we distributed on March 12th, 2 weeks ago, and it's 141,000 more meals than we distributed the year before. In other words, we've never distributed boxes of crisis meals to anyone in Monmouth and Ocean County. We've always distributed foods through pantries, shelters, school feeding programs, any kind of after-school program, and backpack programs and things like this. This is different. This is so different because people are hungry. People have lost their jobs already. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to solve the problem. And daily they're coming to the food bank and asking simple questions like, I have 5 kids at home. Can you give me some meat? I have 5 kids at home. Can you give me some diapers? This is the beginning of what will become a crisis, especially here at the Jersey Shore, because you know better than anyone that we survive on restaurant and hospitality service, and they're all out of a job, and they will be out of a job for the foreseeable future. So not only are we handing out crisis boxes in Neptune, where our main office is, but also in Toms River on Hooper Avenue, but we're also doing it to any group of people that are interested in getting a number of boxes together. So for example, yesterday morning, we distributed 300 boxes to Lakewood Township. They got there, they realized they had not ordered enough boxes, and in an hour, they called me and asked for another 300 boxes, which we delivered to them within another hour. That's the kind of service we're finding the local elected municipalities need, because you are the people who are on the front lines. You are the people are turning to and saying, I'm hungry, help me. They don't normally know where the pantries are. I mean, I bet you couldn't tell us where the 17, well now 12 open pantries are in Toms River. It's not a natural thing to you. It's not natural that you drive up there. They come to you instead. So my request to you is, if your constituents come to you and say they're hungry, gather up. And what they did in Lakewood, what they've done in Belmar, what they've done in Toms River School District, what they've done all over Monmouth and Ocean County is simply through the elected public officials, usually through the DPWs, is gathered up that information, counted up how many families they had, called us and said, we need this many boxes of food, and either we can deliver it to you, and certainly we can because we're right on Hooper Avenue, or they can come and pick it up. And that way you're assured that not only are the families that you normally feed, your senior citizens that are closed in, your underserved families that normally go to pantries, but this new group of people who are out of a job are getting the food that they need and in the place that they need it. So I'm here just to say we're open for business. It doesn't cost anything, or let's put it another way, your tax dollars are already paying for it, and 87% of what we do are donor funded. We also have a program that is combining, like now we have about 30 different restaurants that are providing hot meals. We're providing stipends to those restaurants so that they stay open. If the restaurants stay open, we give them, then there's fewer people on our pantry line. So we pay $5 a meal for those restaurants to provide meals, hot meals, to families in need, senior citizen centers, or any group, quite frankly, if they want a hot meal. So this morning, we fed about 1,000 students or yesterday morning, about 1,000 students in Toms River. Tonight, as we speak, as I'm standing here today, Juniors is serving hot meals to the Boys and Girls Club in Ocean County and the Boys and Girls Club in Monmouth County. That's just one of 30 different places we are. We've served in the last 2 weeks 19,000 hot meals. Same time last year, 0. And this is the beginning of what will become an ever-increasing demand. But my quest to you is that you set up some kind of a system. We're happy to work with you, and that you get the food that you need, and you ask. Yeah. You get your constituents to ask.
Thank you so much for coming down here. I know we'll be meeting with the mayor, Mr. Guardian. I know Councilman Turnbuck and myself and Councilwoman York had some dialogue with a couple of our organizations, Just Believe, and some of our church groups that are out there, and we're going to try to coordinate it through the township as best we can. For the general public that is looking at our live stream and also listening to this, we will have something up on our website in a couple days, a mechanism so you can reach out to us so we can help you in return. And I want to thank you again for coming down and doing this public service announcements for the residents of Toms River.
Thank you. And Mayor, good to see you.
Thank you. Okay. Continue.
Moving on, the next item on the agenda, the minutes of March 10th, 2020.
Move the minutes.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Latano. Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Councilman Latano? Yes. Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp? Yes. Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Council President Maruka?
Yes.
We do not have any honoring resolutions and presentations tonight, so we'll move on to number 7, a resolution to amend the 2020 temporary budget pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-20.
Council's pleasure.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Councilman Latano. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 8, a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, certifying compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records and employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 pursuant to NJSA 40A:5.
Council.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Kopp, second by Council Vice President Gagan. Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Latano?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 9, a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, limiting the time period for public comment to 30 minutes in the event a meeting of the Township Council is held by video with call-in access.
Move the resolution.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Latano?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 10,
Item 10 is the introduction of the Township's 2020 municipal budget. At this time, I would like to ask our Business Administrator, Mr. Guardian, and our CFO, Alex Davidson, to come forward and do the budget presentation.
Good evening, Council President, esteemed members of Council, members of the Toms River community. If you're not in our room this evening, at any point during the presentation, please feel free to email us your questions at questions, that's plural, at tomsrivertownship.com. We're presenting tonight the 2020 budget introduction. To say that we are in uncharted waters would be an understatement in light of COVID-19 and even the changes just since we made this presentation a week ago. The budget that we're presenting, $134,482,669. It's $1,846,000 higher than the final budget for last year, and it's $3,713,000 higher than the introduced budget for 2019. Certainly, we never want to come to you with an increase in a budget that means an increase in property taxes, but I don't think we have any choice this evening. Some of the issues that we have is a FEMA loan backed from Sandy that we had anticipated, as most municipalities had in Ocean County, that it would be forgiven, but we found out that it was not going to be forgiven. First, we would be assessed $1.3 million, but just a few weeks ago told that we would have to pay the full $5 million back. I know that council members and the mayor have met with Congressman Kim to employ him for his assistance in this being unfair to the township. Certainly several weeks ago, now even more with the issues affecting us with COVID-19. However, whether we get the $3.7 million forgiven or we have to pay the full $5 million back, we need to add the $1,500,000 into the budget this year. We have a radio program going on. In order to be able to talk to the county, the state, the federal government, we're going to have to change the frequencies on our radio. There's a survey and a process going on now. Regardless of whether or not we do it ourselves or we go with the county, there's going to be a considerable expense in the radios alone. That's the biggest cost for this project, but we're adding $700,000 in this year's budget just as the down payment. We also, every 10 or 11 years, because we pay every 2 weeks, have a 27th pay period. Now, that doesn't affect salaried employees, but it does affect our hourly employees. And so this year, we're looking at a $650,000 increase. The next item that we have is $800,000 for the COVID-19 response. Now, I have to tell you where normally I can be pretty precise on what the issue is going to be. In this one, we really don't know the effect it's going to have on the township, the budget, and then future development in our township when it's finally over. And everyone is back to some type of normalcy. We put in $800,000. If we close down completely, no one took any permits out, no one paid any fees, no one paid any licensing, we brought no money in from the ice skating rink or the golf course or the animal shelter, we would lose about $800,000 a year. How much are we losing now? We really don't know. We've been closed for a little more than a week, and we see the construction cost and code enforcement fees going down about 50%, but they're continuing to slow. So we're just concerned about that. I think I have to applaud council on the next item, which is going out for a township-wide efficiency study, be bringing in someone that has a lot of experience in doing just this, looking at everything in our budget, and then making recommendations back to council on how we can provide the most efficient service. Although it will probably cost around $200,000, we will not know until we go out to bid. I can tell you that you should be looking at multiple millions of dollars in potential savings. And then tied right into this, as we face the issues with COVID-19, we see some efficiency studies that are presented to us and things. I think we'll be in a good point as we hire an attorney, as we have to do every 3 years, specifically for negotiations for the collective bargaining agreements. So how does this affect you as an individual? Well, the average home in Toms River is assessed at $275,000. And so every time we talk about a penny going up in the budget, we're talking about that homeowner of $275,000 paying another $28 on their tax bill. What 1 cent does to our levy, it increases $1.3 million for taxes. So the budget that we're presenting to you this evening for an average home of $275,000 is a 4.2% increase, or $116 for an annual impact on the average home. And that equates to 1.78%, just a little under 2% increase over your tax bill last year. So if you're not at $275,000, whatever price you were paying for your taxes last year, if you multiply it by 1.78, that would be your percentage increase this year if this budget is approved. So lots of reasons for the increase. And over the next couple of slides, as we've done each year, we try to talk about a 5-year projection, both the challenges that we know that we can expect and some of the light at the end of the tunnel. We're in the position now because for the last 3 years we've had a zero tax increase in our municipal budget, but we did that by using $4.4 million in the surplus. Not a bad idea at the time, but we're concerned this year on the amount of money we use from our surplus and not raising taxes, because one of the big costs that we can control is the rating that we have, which currently is AA with Standards & Poor for our bond rating. The bond rating, of course, is the bonds that we take out, not only to pay the debt that goes back to Sandy, but also in our ability to take out a bond each year and the like. This year, we're looking at maintaining an $11 million annual capital budget. We picked that number because we don't want to increase the debt, and we haven't for the last 3 years. We pay off $11 million on old debt, and we do take on $11 million in new debt, but we have a zero increase in the debt that we have. Permanent increase that you see, although some of these items that I'm presenting are 1-year term, that 4-cent increase will last for several years as we continue to settle as best we can tax review each year so that we don't have to raise taxes in the next few years. So the first item is just common sense. We have no idea how long COVID-19 is going to affect. Yes, today it looks like another 2 weeks when we peak and another 5-6 weeks before we start normalcy, but that's already into the end of May. So we're anticipating that we'll be back in June, but I can't promise that. And I have no idea of what the effects of be, other than it will not be good on the most important time for Toms River, which is the summer months, June through September, in terms of our businesses. We want to prevent loss of services to residents, and so the budget that we're presenting this evening does not reduce any of the services we provide. Now, I would be foolish in thinking that council are not going to have to make tough decisions during this year as we look at the 2021 budget, and some of the services may not be able to be continued because it's just not feasible, it's not sustainable for our taxpayers. The taxes on our most reliable sources of income during the virus is actually the property tax that we receive. If we go back to Sandy and we said, what happened during that, the good point is that most of the taxes come from people's mortgage, and banks, lending institutions, automatically pay their taxes on time. That's what happened in Sandy, and we're foreseeing that we're going to be down a very small percentage, but we'll know once the quarterly taxes come in a few weeks. There's some considerable concerns going forward. The first one is a tax appeal. The BASF property, the Ciba-Geiger property, had been valued at $42 million. It's gone to the courts, and the courts have now reduced it by $40 million. They're asking for a tax appeal for all those years that they were based on that higher price. That could be, with interest, somewhere between $15 and $20 million. Now, we didn't spend the $20 million. 50% went to the school and 21% went to the county, and we got 27%. But how this works is tax appeals are paid totally by the township. So we will be forced to pay what the courts tell us after this appeal process is settled. That will be done over several years. We do have about $4 million in our tax appeal surplus, but the remainder of that would have to be bonded over several years. Revaluation is kind of a moot point, I think, at this point, is we were moving forward with this, looking to go out to bids and receive them, but I think we all know that none of us can predict what the assessed values of property are going to be this year and next year. And so I think that common sense will apply to the state, to the county, to the members of this council in realizing that we made such a huge mistake doing a tax assessment the last time at the height of the market. To do an assessment now with the potential of home values going down because of the virus would be very foolish. And so I don't think you'll see a cost for this year, and I don't think it's wise to push ahead with tax appeals. I don't have that decision to make, but I think just asking for another year makes a whole lot of sense. At that point, we'll know what the effect will be on the assessed values of properties. Minimum wage going up to $15. We're just like everybody else. We're paying it. By the time it all clears, it'll be about $500,000 additional cost to the town. Some of it's going to be made up by increases that are already there for the Bailey Golf Course, for the ice skating rink, for the summer camp programs, and eventually beach tags as well. But it is a $500,000 cost. There's some good news. We're going to stop paying $300,000. That's the debt payment for work that was done at the Bailey Golf Course. That's going to end in 2021. And the $550,000 that we're paying for open space is going to end in 2023. So there is a $850,000 decrease in cost as these bonds are paid off. Current interest rate, I can't even describe what's going to happen. I think it'd be unfair for our CFO to make a statement either. We don't know how the COVID virus is going to affect the market. Right now, the market is real good. Our AA rating is real good. So we would like to hope that we're going to see a very good bond market as we look at long-term bonds and even short-term bonds there. But it's an unknown at this point. It should reduce the cost to the township. And then there's three major developments that I wanted to comment on. It may be a year delay, so this may not come to fruition in 2022. It may take until 2023, but we have a major downtown development. There's two properties that the Capadagli family is looking to construct. The first building alone, about 300 units of housing with retail in downtown through the pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes, is going to bring in over $500,000 annually to the town. We also have Ocean First building their corporate center right here on Hooper Avenue. That's a major expansion on that property, and whether the town council goes into a pilot or some other form of tax rebate, it's still going to be additional income for the town. And then, as you know, we're working very tirelessly with the Hooper Claudinia development. We are trying to put it together for both the VA and the post office, but the developers that we're working on have alternate companies that would be looking at that site too. So if one of those does not become a reality, I think this moves ahead too. These last two projects, the first Ocean First and Hooper Claudinia, it's not going to have any housing, so there's no children, there's no school cost, there's minimal cost for the township, and so that's a positive as we try to increase our tax assessments. So we talked about this survey that I think will be very helpful to town council, but it stays with a commitment to discovering whatever cost savings we can so that we can pass it on to the taxpayer. We know that we don't have money for the next 2 or 3 years in terms of buying back the Green Acres programs that we have, the open space. But we've been very lucky working with the county and the state on Blue Acres, on Green Acres, and on farmland preservation, because we believe that almost everyone in the township, except for the few areas of redevelopment that I mentioned, really wants to limit the amount of additional development that happens and to keep Toms River green and open for our posterity. New developments outside of what I talked about is certainly going to add ratables to the township, but when we talk about residential housing, it also comes with children, and children means schooling and extra costs for public safety and public services. So although the development looks great, initially there is costs that are involved with that. So this is using this last year. If you had $275,000 home in terms of the value, you paid $6,530 in taxes. Again, almost half of that, 49%, goes to the school. We keep 27% of that for the municipality, 21% goes to the county, just about 3% goes to our fire districts because, again, almost all the firefighters are indeed volunteers, and then a small, very small portion, doesn't get to 1%, is actually open space. So what's the 10-year trend so far? This is Toms River here, and you can see that we were able to keep it balanced for the last 3 or 4 years, where if we look at all the other municipalities in Ocean County, there's been a slight increase. As we talk about taxes in our state, and certainly this is no happy number because New Jersey has such a large tax rate, but if the average of the municipalities in the state is $9,000, that's the bottom chart and stuff, you can see in Ocean County it's not $9,000, it's $7,200, and in Toms River it's $6,400. So a big difference between the state and Toms River. We understand that property taxes is too high anywhere in the state. If we look at other communities that people think are similar to Toms River, so Brick and Berkeley and Jackson Lakewood, you can see the dotted line represents Toms River, and we're about the middle of the five big municipalities in Ocean County. So here's where the money comes from. 66% from taxes, another 13% from the surplus that we have. So you see that 66, 78%, almost 80% just come from these two lines alone. And then as we talk about appropriation, where does the money go? So as we're looking at where we need to be doing work, it's certainly the largest number, 26%, which is insurance and pension for our employees. 26%, next big number is 23% for public safety, and the next number after that would be public works with recreation and engineering at 13%. So that's about 80%, similar to what I just showed in the slide before. Public safety is always going to be the most expensive cost for any town, but it's what Toms River takes pride in. I think it's why people live here, why people move here, why people stay here, and that is because violent crime, serious crimes, is at a minimal in Toms River. But we do get 72,000 calls just this past year. It's 197 calls a day for our police department. Both narcotics arrests and warrant arrests are down, even though call volume is up 18%. And I wanted to point out that this year, the public safety budget includes 18 additional officers that we have in our school system. So every single public school in Toms River has an experienced senior Class 3 officer. I just wanted to mention EMS because it's part of the public safety cost, coming in about 13,000 calls a year, or 35 a day, and it's just critical, especially in this time as we're transporting people to the hospital. Our response time is 6 minutes, whereas the national benchmark is 8 minutes, and those 2 minutes become critical if you're looking for that Narcan or for a defibrillator or for a CPR. So here's where the real issue is and why you pay so much taxes in Toms River. Going back to 2009, the total value of all the properties in Toms River was $18 billion. That was the B, like boy, $18 billion. At Sandy, you see, we dropped considerably, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years after Sandy, we're still almost $5 billion less than we were 10 years ago. Normally, we go up about $100 million from year to year after Sandy, but our two big hits this year was BASF, which I mentioned, the $40 million, and it's the Ocean County Mall that also went down an additional $2 million. I spoke only briefly about the capital campaign, but I think the number one priority that I would say is repairing the roadways in Toms River. We have over 400 miles that we're responsible for, and a good planning is to replace 20% every year because asphalt lasts between 20 and 25 years. Luckily, because of FEMA, all of the island has been redone. Our engineering department goes out every year. They actually measure all the roads, measure all of the properties that people call and complain about, and they give it a rating. So here you can see from number 1 to number 10, this is the order that we would be paving. I'm glad to tell you that based on the bond that you had provided last year in the 2019 budget, and hopefully the bond that'll be approved in this year's budget, we will be able to get to everything on this map. Now, I'm not trying to be funny with anyone in giving you a map that you can't read, but all of this PowerPoint presentation will be available on our website after this presentation, so it's readily available. You can blow it up and see the actual streets that we'll be paving in the spring and fall of this year. And then this is just a cap. Again, this is just a simple summary. I know that you have the full budget before you, but the bottom line, $134,482,669 is our budget. Here's the revenue, and then here's the appropriation. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for having to listen to me twice on this presentation. Our finance and our capital subcommittees have heard it 4 or 5 times. I'm sure they could just repeat this if I get hoarse.
Thank you, Mr. Guardian.
Council President, may I interrupt for one quick second?
Yes, please.
We had a request from the public asking for the councilmen seated to vote into their microphones because they're having trouble hearing just verbal votes.
So taken. Okay, we'll be able to do that.
If I may, just one more, Council
Yes, Mr.
President.
Gordon.
I just want to recognize Alex Davidson, our new CFO, who, you know, when we interviewed him back in November or October, whenever we interviewed, I told him about what an easy job this is. He's going to feel guilty taking home a salary that, you know, that Toms River has never been in better conditions, and the future looks really bright. And obviously, every possible crisis so far has come our way and in his way. And I really appreciate, as much as I appreciated Sharon and the exceptional job she did, I think we're in equally good hands with Alex Davidson, and I certainly want to credit him with putting together this budget for all of the screaming people will be doing at him as he developed this 4-cent increase in taxes for everyone, and his ability to lower costs as he has his feet on the ground.
Thank you, Mr. Guardian. I echo those sentiments. Alex came aboard, and this budget has been literally a moving target. I think he's revised this I don't know how many times because of different circumstances coming up, and then also with reval. Now, COVID just really put us in uncharted waters there. But Alex, I'm just going to toot your horn a little bit. You are a veteran. You're a warrior. And we're at war right now, and we're glad that you are on our side going into this fiscal battle. And we thank you for all the efforts you have put into this budget and will continue to. And Mr. Guardian, thank you for your presentation.
Are we going to get an opportunity to ask questions?
This is just, if you have questions for Mr. Guardian, that's fine. And then, like I said, we can go. We will be doing a second reading and a public hearing on this budget at a later time.
Well,
I know.
I just have a question about the Sandy. So I know when we were when you were going over the budget, you had said that you know, part of the reason we've seen such an increase in taxes is the result of Superstorm Sandy. And I had read that in the paper this morning, so I did a little research, and I just wanted to ask you if you were aware of what total appropriations were back in 2012.
If it's similar to most municipalities affected by Sandy, it probably was 50%.
Well, in
Of-
2012,
Double.
we were spending $103 million a year. So this year, we're spending $135 million. So that's 8 years of $35 million increase. So, I mean, I don't think it's a revenue issue that we have in this town. I think it's a spending problem.
Well,
So, you know,
we will do our best to present to you ways that you can consider to reduce the cost, but if I may again, it's $5 billion less in assessed values, $5 billion less that people are paying property
But the
taxes for.
total amount we're spending
The total
is
amount is
significantly higher,
absolutely
right?
increased.
Just keeps going up and up. You touched on the tax appeal. I was wondering if you could tell the public what we were ordered to pay. I know we're appealing, but we were ordered to pay, do you remember what that was?
I don't
And
think, I'm going to turn to...
Ask legal.
Yes, legal.
Are we
I
allowed
don't
to
think since
go over
it's a
that, Ken?
legislative issue that I can discuss it.
I mean,
what
that
I
is
said.
public record, right? What we were ordered to pay, that would be public
Well, we-
record in the court records. Like, I could go online right now and look that up, couldn't I? I could, I could, even though we're appealing it, I mean, it's public record, correct?
Well, I don't know whether the tentative settlement is published at this time, but what I did ask is that John Casey, who's special counsel, handle that, provide the governing body, because we have a new mayor, we have 3 new council people, we have a change in the CFO, and for the existing members such as yourself, with a synopsis of what the impact of that is.
Well, it was big enough that we appealed it, correct? I mean, it's fair to say that it was a
Oh,
big
yes,
number.
yes.
Big number that we appealed it, correct?
Yes.
How many years would we have to pay that back, Don?
5 years.
5.
Alex, yeah, can you-
Go ahead, Alex, I'm sorry.
to the mic, please.
For a tax appeal, we would have to go to a local finance board. Generally, what the rule of thumb is that they would want to see the average residential taxpayer have a burden of $50. So we're looking at, on the light side, 5 years, probably 6.7 years, but it matters what the local finance board comes back and allows us to do.
But it was a huge number, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it's safe to say that with the cuts in school aid and the Sandy tax appeal and a number of other issues, that we're staring at the edge of a fiscal cliff. Would you say that that's a fair assessment here?
Well, Councilman, I tried to present to you about the crisis that you've clearly outlined and some of the light at the end of the tunnel as well.
Well, and the other thing I'd like to say is I hope you're not, you know, I know you're putting up this presentation, but this is a collective, you know, budgeting is a collective thing, so I don't want to put the burden completely on you. I just wanted to ask a few questions. You know, and when we got here, Don, you and I both came in around the same time.
2 years, 3 months, couple of days.
Do you recall what total appropriations were then?
I do not.
They were 124 million. So we're up $10 million in 2 years, or about,
3.
you know, about 9-10%. This year alone, it's a 7% tax increase we're suggesting here. So I know we talk about this in terms of pennies, but I think that that's disingenuous for the public. I mean, it's a big increase as a percentage.
I'm not a taxpayer here, so I don't have the right to speak for them, but I think what most people do is they look at the tax bill. They have no idea what all the letters that we put in front of them. They don't care about the school or open space or the library or the county. They want to know how much they're going to pay. And that's the bottom line, unfortunately.
Is there any department in Town Hall this year that's spending less money than it did last year? Just any department.
So at this point, I'm going to wait for Alex if he has something, but the point is that just today, with anticipated layoffs and other financial considerations that we believe we have to take in the next 2 weeks, and then we have to take in 4 weeks, it will be considerable decrease across the board, with the exception of public safety, essential services. So that's public safety, public works.
Well, when I looked over the budget, I couldn't find a single area where we cut back from last year. And the budget was out before the COVID-19 crisis.
Certainly was.
So,
Councilman.
I don't know, I just wanted to ask you some questions just to help clarify it for the public.
The-
And I want to thank you for taking the time to answer them.
And the COVID really only affects it by about 800,000. Now, having said that, we don't know what the effect is. But how did it increase? 800,000, that's it.
Potentially. Thank you.
Potential, yes.
Anyone else on the council have questions for Mr. Guardian? Like I said, this is just an introduction of the budget. There will be a public hearing and public comment on that, second reading and a public comment section on that. Okay. At this time, do we have a motion to move this budget?
I'll make a motion to move the Township 2020 municipal budget. I'll also indicate I want to thank Mr. Guardian and our CFO as well for all their efforts in this, and I appreciate Councilman Roderick's comments, and I would encourage him as a member of the Finance Subcommittee that we don't just come to these council meetings, we prepare for these meetings. We have subcommittee meetings on these budgets, and the ideas that he has, I encourage him to bring them back to the subcommittee meetings and present these ideas so that we're not placing our township administrator on the spot, and we can work together as a township to address these issues. We all share the common goal of wanting to reduce costs and provide the services our residents have come to enjoy. That's why our residents live here in Toms River. But we have to work as a team, and you are on that finance subcommittee.
I'm on the committee, and I've made recommendations on the committee.
And
Have you made any recommendations for cost savings measures, or are you going to just vote for the budget today? Because that's,
Excuse me.
you know, I just want to know. I mean, you're focusing on me and what I've done, and
I'm not focusing.
everybody's aware that I'm pretty
Excuse-
hawkish as far as taxes are concerned.
excuse me.
Terrence. Are you hawkish, or are you going to just vote yes for the 7% increase today?
I'm moving the resolution forward.
He has a
You are,
motion.
right?
He has a motion on the floor.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And all I'm doing is encouraging you, Councilman Roderick. I'm not critiquing you.
You're absolutely critiquing me.
I'm not. I'm encouraging you to bring these ideas back to the subcommittee.
Oh,
so
I
we
have
can
brought them back.
discussions.
I have brought them back.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion to introduce the Township 2020 municipal budget made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Council Vice President Gagan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
No.
Council President Maruka.
Before I vote on that, I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that Mr. Guardian had highlighted in this budget that were basically things that are out of the control of the township at this time. That FEMA CDL loan, that disaster loan, that's to be repaid back. 27 pay periods in this budget, which normally we do not have. An additional minimum wage hike that was presented. We have over 600 seasonal employees. We don't even know if we're going to be employing them this year. And with the COVID numbers put in, because we don't know what our revenues are going to be like, and that helps offset the budget by the anticipated revenues there. So, and plus going out for the township-wide efficiencies survey, and also just the tax appeals that we have in there. This has been a difficult budget, but it's not an impossible budget. I think what our CFO and what our administrator and the mayor had to work with to present it to us, coming off of 3 years of zero tax increases, I think they have presented to us something that is basically something that this township, we don't want to raise taxes, but it's something that we could take a look at and unfortunately, go ahead with. It's something we don't like to do, raise taxes, but this is something that is given to us. There are circumstances that are beyond our control in this. And to move this budget forward, I will vote yes.
Next, we have the introduction of the 2020 Toms River Special Improvement District budget.
Council's pleasure?
Move the budget.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Council Vice President Gagan, to introduce the 2020 Toms River Special Improvement District budget. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 12 is an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing the administrative code of the Township of Toms River to reestablish the Department of Law and eliminating Chapter 40-11 entitled Division of Law, first reading.
This is a first read of this ordinance. Council's pleasure?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Motion was made by Council Vice President Gagan, second by Councilman Kopp. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
I would consider supporting outsourcing the legal department, pending it's the entire department, and I've told this to the mayor as well, and pending that there's a provision in the ordinance that would prohibit folks from getting contracted work if they were donors during the last mayoral race. But as it is right now, and as it stands right now, I can't support this ordinance, so I'm going to vote no.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired on any item, that item will be considered separately.
Council, does anyone have an item on the consent agenda they would like to speak of separately?
Council President, if I could have a roll call on G, H, J, and L, and as Q and R have been recently added, I think we should have a discussion on both Q and R.
Okay, so we need a roll call on G, H, J, and L.
Yes,
And-
Council President.
Okay. Anyone else from council? Okay, and then we'll also have a discussion on items Q and R. Do I have a motion to move the remaining items of that consent agenda? Is there anyone are we getting any questions from the public on the consent agenda?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, not at this time. Council?
Move the remainder of the consent items.
Motion made by Council Vice President Gagan, second by Councilman Latano, to move the consent agenda with the exception of items G, H, J, L, Q, and R. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. Okay, and can I have a roll call, I believe, on G, H, J, and L?
Yes, Council President.
Someone move that, please?
I'll remove the remainder of the items on the consent agenda.
No, we're just moving G, H, J, and L for a roll call vote, please. Are you making that motion, Councilman Gagan?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you.
Motion made by Council Vice President Gagan, seconded by Councilman Latano, to move items G, H, J, and L. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
I have to abstain from items G, H, J, and L. I'm a local attorney in town, and I have a conflict with a lot of the members that are referenced in those items, so I'm going to abstain.
And Council President Maruka.
Yes. Okay, item Q.
Council President, maybe if our mayor would be willing to speak on this. This is
Sure.
something that I really commend him on for taking quick action on, and maybe he can just explain it to the public.
Sure. Mayor, before you I think we need credit due to our staff, because someone in our registrar's office that handles the food licenses brought it to our attention that they were expiring on March 31st. And we know it's a hardship. Some of the businesses have paid that license, but some have not. So we spoke with the mayor, and he was kind enough and spoke with legal, and we could take it from there. But it was really a staff member that was looking out for our business community.
That's correct. Council President was Alice Chiavoletti, who does the licensing for the food handlers. They're all due to expire at the end of this month, and a lot of the restaurants and smaller businesses are closed down. Some are open. They're providing takeout meals, but the revenue is greatly reduced. And what we suggested is that we extend those licenses rather until the businesses are back in and the executive orders are lifted and the restaurants can open again.
Yeah. And just to be clear to the public, this is just for the issuing of the license. All the inspections are done by the Ocean County Board of Health, but they need the food handler's license to do business here in Toms River Township.
Thank everybody involved for moving that, bringing that to our attention in a very timely fashion.
Thank you. And Alice, our staff member, Alice Civiletti, brought that to our attention, that it was going to be, we have to extend it this meeting because they're actually expiring today. So thank you.
Okay. Can I have a motion on Q?
Motion to move Q?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Roderick. Is that correct?
No.
Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. And item R, Councilman Turnbach.
Thank you. I don't know if our legal department wants to first talk about the resolution or if you would like me to just comment on it. You want to explain what the resolution is?
The resolution would authorize Howard Mankoff, who is an attorney, to act as special counsel to conduct an investigation relating to two statutes, NJSA 40:69A36C and 40:69A-37A, essentially dealing with the ability to disclose or the duty not to disclose discussions in a closed session of council and executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimmons. On February 11th of 2020, we had a council meeting, and as is the standard practice in our council meeting, after public session, we moved to executive session to discuss items such as confidential negotiations, personnel matters that we cannot discuss in public, and that's really to protect the taxpayers. It's in an effort to work on negotiations. For example, you can work on real estate that you're looking to purchase, and we can have open discussions on prices that we want to offer for that real estate. And those are done in executive session because they're privileged discussions and they're meant to be kept confidential. Unfortunately, it appears that discussions we had at our February 11th, 2020 executive session were leaked to the public shortly after the executive session. It came to the attention of a lot of the council members. We came back in February 25th, 2020, and we again attempted to address this issue, but unfortunately, everyone that was in that executive session, no one is stepping forward to indicate who it was that had leaked the information. So now the township is going to be forced to go out and hire an attorney and pay this attorney a rate of $275 an hour to figure this out. And the township should be, the public should be aware of this. It's unfortunate, it's unnecessary from the standpoint that people should not be leaking this information. And we know that. I support this motion. I'm the one that called for the investigation because it's so important that the discussions we have in there remain confidential, remain privileged, because we're in there discussing what's in the best interest of this township. I'm going to move the motion forward to move R.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Turnbuck, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbuck.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, the approval of the bills.
Move the bill list.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbuck, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbuck.
I'd abstain from PO 20-01380, payable to the magistrates, PO 20-00485, payable to Office of Siddle, Holzappel, and Zabarski, and PO 19-00863 and PO 20-00819, payable to the Dasty McGuckin Law Office. Again, I'm a local attorney in town. I have conflicts with those three. Yes to the balance of the bill list.
Councilman Kopp.
I abstain from the following: 20-01383, payable to the Board of Fire Commissioners, District 2, and 20-01576, payable Silverton First Aid. Yes to the balance.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Abstain from PO 20-00162, payable to the Borough of Lavalette. Abstain from PO 20-00398 and 20-00818, payable to Remington and Frederick. Abstain from PO 20-00859 and 20-00972, payable to Rutgers University. And PO 20-01380, only line 18 as it pertains to recreation salaries. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
I have no conflicts. I vote yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
I have two abstentions. Purchase order 20-01383, the Board of Fire Commissioners, and 20-01576, payable to Silverton First Aid. Yes to the remaining.
And Council President Maruka.
Abstain to PO 20-01240, payable to the Greater Toms River Chamber of Commerce, PO 19-00863 and 20-00819, payable to Dasty McGuckin Attorney at Law, PO 20-00897, payable to NJMVC, and PO 20-01380, that's on the Toms River payroll, line item 85. It's payable to NJMVC lease program. I have a conflict. Yes to the balance.
And next we have elected officials' comments.
Okay. Mayor, we'll start with you this evening.
This isn't coming on.
You're on.
There, is it on now? Okay. As everybody said, we're in uncharted waters with this coronavirus 19. And I think the nonstop coverage that's on the news has caused us all to be very anxious. It's important for us not to get overwhelmed by this. We want to focus on the health of our families and ourselves. We need to also focus on the fact that, we're fortunate to live in a country that has probably the best healthcare system in the world. We're known for our innovation, and our medical researchers are working on vaccines and medications that hopefully will eliminate this disease and reduce and treat the patients who are developing that. That may be a ways away, but in the meantime, what we need to do is stay focused on, as I said, the health of our family and those around us. And that means social distancing. It's important that we we keep a distance between ourselves. If you're noticing here tonight, everybody's spread out by at least 6 to 8 feet. We need to stay at our homes and only go out for the essential items, food, medication. We need to practice proper hand hygiene, cover the coughs with a tissue or into your elbow, and avoid touching your nose, your eyes, or any of the mucous membranes where the disease can get a foothold. If you develop symptoms, you should stay hydrated, stay home, use acetaminophen. There is some anecdotal information that ibuprofen tends to exacerbate these symptoms. So again, they're recommending Tylenol or acetaminophen. Stay home unless you have a difficulty with breathing. Then you're going to have to call 911 and you're going to need to get to see either the hospital or your physician. We need to stay focused on this and not get too carried away and overwhelmed. We're very fortunate that we've been able to keep the township going with essential services, and I want to thank our first responders, our police, our EMS, our fire, also our public works. We're continuing to maintain sanitation pickup and recycle pickup. Also the folks in our senior center, although the senior center is closed, they're still distributing food twice a week. And also we're continuing to keep our construction offices open. That's building, engineering, planning, and zoning, to try to keep the township moving forward. It's difficult times. It's requiring a lot of sacrifice. And I appreciate all the work that our township employees are doing. I've gone around each day to make sure that they have what they need and kind of boost the morale. It's difficult times. We're on a shutdown of this country till at least the end of this month. And as I said, I know everybody's anxious, but we should look toward the positives. Most of the people are recovering from this disease, and we're fortunate in this country that our percentages are fairly low of the people who are passing away, but any loss of life is tragic. So it's important that we stay, as I said, focused on the things we can do to protect ourselves and flatten this curve of this disease. And again, I want to thank all the township employees for what they're doing, and especially our first responders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman York, I'm going to go to you next. Hopefully you can hear us. Great. Yes, we can.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that my family and I are well, but due to my medical history, we are taking very strict precautions. So I encourage everyone watching to stay at home if at all possible and wash your hands a lot for at least 20 seconds, of course. I hope that we begin to see a decrease in COVID-19 cases in Toms River and Ocean County in the very near future. As the mayor said, the majority of people recover from the virus. Don't forget to look for activities online while you're staying home, including hashtag CR82GETHER. That's Create Together, a play on Exit 82's logo on Instagram, sponsored by Exit 82. And to continue to use the delivery or to-go services of our local restaurants and stores. They are really going to need our help in surviving. So, and that's it. I wish everyone well.
Thank you, Councilman York the best to you and your family. Councilman Roderick.
First, I'd like to say our thoughts and prayers go out to the families and loved ones of those who have lost their lives as a result of this horrific disease. And I want to thank all the first responders as well. They're doing a tremendous job putting themselves at risk for others. And, you know, there's no greater thing than to go out and do something for someone else and to put yourself at risk. Again, I want to thank all the first responders. I wanted to go back to the budget again. I mean, at a time like this with COVID-19, you know, so many folks are finding themselves out of work. The federal government is taking unprecedented action as far as injecting capital and liquidity into markets and into people's pockets. And, you know, residents can't afford a 7% tax increase, especially at a time like this. I know the administration is saying that, you know, these are one-time items, but this is not a one-time tax increase. And I had warned that this would happen when we went overboard with spending last year and dipped into our reserves to pay for it. You know, I had voted no on that budget because the mayor and other members of council refused to look for cost savings measures as it pertains to the ever-increasing cost of health insurance. I mean, we're paying $40,000 a year for a family plan in this town. And at the time, then Councilman Hill said he would support me and we would work together this year to find some cost savings measures as it pertains to health insurance. But instead, we're not doing that. We're just raising taxes again. That's why I didn't support this budget. I'm hoping that we can do something between now and the final budget to improve the situation for our residents, because like I said, so many people are themselves finding themselves in a financial crisis. So that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Turnbuck.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank the former Lieutenant Governor Guadagno for coming down here tonight, Mayor Hill, and Council President Maruka. These are discussions with regard to making sure our residents have enough to eat that only began on Sunday of this week, as we were in discussions with Mayor Coles from Lakewood and the decisions that Lakewood was making to feed their at-need or at-risk residents. So it really is commendable that within 2 days we have the former Lieutenant Governor down here. We have meetings set up for tomorrow, and I really want to emphasize to all of our residents that are struggling through this pandemic that you will not go hungry. This township will make sure you do not go hungry. If you are suffering from food shortages, please reach out to the township. We have a number of resources, and we will be working with Fulfill to make sure we have all this stress right now, and food is not going to be a stress for the residents of Toms River. We will do everything we have to do to make sure that our residents have what they need. I want to echo everyone else's comments and thank our first responders. I want to specifically thank Councilman Kopp and Councilman Gagan and also Councilwoman York. Councilwoman York is a nurse, and Councilman Kopp and Gagan are first responders, paramedics with Silverton First Aid. And I just want to say that I really look at your work as being selfless, honorable, and certainly in need of praise. You deserve it. You never ask for it. You sit there, you go do your jobs, but I really admire what you do, and I'm proud of what you do, and I'm proud that you represent the township, so thank you. I also want to thank all of our nurses, our police, our fire. These are uncertain times. Every one of us, we come in this room and every one of us is thinking, you know, am I going to be safe? You know, we all have families at home, but our first responders, our EMTs, our nurses, our firemen, our police, they go to work and it doesn't matter, right? They deal with what they have to deal with. They deal with the residents and the patients that have COVID-19, and I don't know that there's words that can say thank you enough for all that you do. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Turnbuck. Councilman Kopp.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilman Turnbuck. That was very nice. We as a country, we are the strongest country in the world. We will get through this. We are going to see an upward trend due to the testing centers coming online. We need to remain calm and follow the guidelines that have been established. Everyone needs to remember the restaurants and small businesses in Toms River that have supported this community. Do takeout, buy a gift card for these businesses. We are looking at ways as a township to help support these businesses and restaurants as we wait to hear from the federal and state government for guidance. As a small business owner myself, I am seeing feeling the effects of the current situation. Stay strong. Look out for one another. As I get guidance, I will make sure the public knows about it. I'm also making myself available to the public, especially the businesses in town. With any questions or concern, please ask me. I will try to do my part for this town. If it means me finding an answer for you or trying to figure out a way to support, I will. Best way to reach me is through my township email, which can be found on the township website. I will be checking my email every few hours and get back to you in a timely manner. Furthermore, in regards to the topics on tonight's meeting, I'm sure with everyone else, feeling that this proposed budget and tax increase is concerning. That is why myself and Councilman Latano are calling for a township-wide best practice and efficiency study. We will use the results of this study to figure out how to address the problems as we see. These decisions are not going to be easy, but that is why we were elected to these positions. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Cobb. Councilman Latano.
Thank you, Council President. This is a time unlike anything we've ever experienced before. With more people testing positive daily, it can feel like there's no end in sight. Our county has 954 confirmed cases, and Toms River has over 100. Our only hope is for a speedy end to this pandemic. The economic impact from this virus will last in our community and nation potentially for years. Employees and small businesses will continue to struggle. If everyone takes this seriously and takes the advice of the president, governor, and mayor by staying home and self-quarantining, it will cut down on the spread of the virus and give the medical staff and supplies time to recover and replenish. Please give our police, EMTs, doctors, nurses, healthcare providers, and every other person who has continuously put themselves in harm's way your respect and support by following the self-quarantine and social distancing guidelines. I know everyone is stir-crazy and has cabin fever, but please use precaution when leaving your house, and please support our local businesses. They need as much support as they can get. I want to commend many of our small businesses in town who are adapting. Many restaurants who don't normally deliver are doing curbside pickup and delivery. Last week I ordered from Capone's, and there was a flyer that came with the food from Refresh Your Palate about a take-home art kit that you can do, and also Mandoli's Bakery of take-home cupcake baking, decorating, that you could do with the kids. And it's a good idea right now because of, everybody's inside and a little stir-crazy. Also tonight we voted on the budget for 2020. I want to say that I share many of Councilman Roderick's concerns with our budget. Councilman Roderick and I are 2 of the 3 council members who sit on the Finance Subcommittee, so the budget falls on us, and I look forward to working with him on the budget. Since being sworn in, we have had one finance meeting where the budget was presented to me just like it was presented to all of you tonight. Based on the recommendations of the town BA, CFO, and former CFO, I have voted yes on this budget to keep the town running. Although we have millions of dollars of unexpected one-time expenses, we can do better, and we will do better. It starts with the efficiency and best practices study that Councilman Kopp and I proposed last council meeting. I assure you that we have the ball rolling, and this study will go to the administration subcommittee of Council President Maruka, Councilman Gagan, and Councilman Turnbach. They will perform a RFP for the next meeting so we can pick a company and get started. It is my goal to save the taxpayers' money while not compromising services. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you, Councilman Latano. Councilman Gagan.
Thank you for the kind words, Councilman Turnback. Again, I'd like to thank all of our township first responders, police, fire, especially EMS as EMTs. We're truly on the front line. We're going into people's homes and whatnot, and they're the ones that are most exposed and at risk. Also, thank you to all the healthcare providers at the hospital, the nurses, doctors, and their staff. I encourage residents to go to official, legitimate websites to obtain information. The CDC, the Ocean County Health Department, not the fake social media websites or news that only promote rumors, anger, and dissension. I've said this before at other council meetings, kind of like never let the facts get in the way of a good headline. I'd also like to thank the Finance Committee for bringing the budget to us so we can now openly discuss it as a council. Certainly, we all agree with Councilman Roderick. we can do better, and we can. We each have our own different ideas in budget cuts. Do we have a spending problem, or do we have an income problem? Those I'll forward to the council or the committee, and we'll certainly try to do better. All of us here on the council, we're property owners. None of us want to pay any taxes, beyond reason. So we're all affected by this budget. Some of us own multiple properties. In the current state of the epidemic, we don't know what next month is going to bring or 6 months is going to bring. And we have very tough decisions to make as a council. That's why you elected us. And I also look forward to the efficiency study and getting started on that to, turn every stone over and look for better practices. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Councilman Gagan. There's a few things I want to speak about tonight, and one of them is a local emergency. Let me get this correct. It was a proclamation of local disaster emergency that was signed today by our head of emergency management. And I just want to share with the public some of the directives, besides all the governor's executive orders for sheltering in place, Executive Order 103, that remains in effect. These are the few provisions that Toms River has done in addition. In addition to the statewide restriction, prohibitions, and closures imposed by executive order, the following local restriction and prohibitions are hereby imposed by Toms River Township effective immediately. Short-term rentals, as provided in our Article 4 of Chapter 335 of the Township Code, are hereby permitted. That is our short-term rentals, Airbnb, VBOs, and things of that nature. All door-to-door soliciting and canvassing, as provided under Chapter 391 of the Township Code. All parks, playgrounds, sports fields, facilities, including Bailey Golf Course, Winding River Ice Rink, beaches, boardwalks, are hereby closed. The restrictions imposed pursuant to paragraph 4, which I just read, remain in effect for the duration of this declaration. This is something the public had asked for, and spoken with the mayor, and we responded immediately on this in, I would say, in unison with our neighboring municipalities. Some of the things that also have taken place is a testing center has been opened at Ocean County College. This is through the Ocean County Health Department, and you can make appointments through their website. It is for asymptomatic, it's for first responders. We've encouraged people to go there, and if you feel that you need to get tested, that is a site right here in our community that was just opened on Monday. And that is through the Ocean County Health Department, which is ochd.org. We encourage that. Our police department has been extremely busy, whether answering calls, answering questions, and one of the reasons why we closed our parks, our playgrounds, our sports fields, and beaches and boardwalks, so people would not congregate or adhere to the social distancing. We have seen that has taken place in communities, but we're trying our best here in Toms River to not let that happen. I know our leaders in the 10th Legislative District are imposing that higher penalties should be placed on people that do congregate, that do not adhere to social distancing policies. And that's something that we should keep an eye on with that. I also want to thank former Lieutenant Governor Guadagno for coming down here this evening and speaking to the residents of Toms River and calling this council to action so no one goes hungry in our community. We have a meeting tomorrow morning, and we will be getting the particulars ready to be put up on our website so we can help the members of our community there. In regard to the efficiency study that Councilman Kopp, Gagan, and Latano have mentioned this evening, we do have a meeting set for this week as well. Even though we're in trying times here, this governing body is doing the work of the people, and we will continue to do the work of the people. Last, but certainly not least, would be my heartfelt thanks to all of our first responders and people on the front line of this war that we are into. I will also echo Councilman Turnbuck's sentiments for our own, Councilman Kopp, Councilman Gagan, and Councilwoman Hurick, along with everyone else that's working our hospitals, our ERs, that are working the emergency care clinics, and also the police and the fire and EMS that are responding to calls. They're still doing this 24/7. So at least we can do is stay at home, be safe, so you can keep your family safe. Also, our volunteer organizations are the backbone of this community, and our church groups. And there's too many, there are numerous to mention, but at this time I just would like to bring at least 3 of them to light. Just Believe has been out there delivering food every day to people in need. A Need We Feed has been out there taking care of children through the schools, through the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and also feeding seniors, and also keeping our restaurants going through these programs. And also talking to a few folks over on the Barrier Island today. There's also St. Simon's Soup Kitchen over in Seaside Heights, but also helps our residents over on the Barrier Island. These people should be applauded. They need your support. They need our prayers so they can continue. This isn't something that's a week or 2. This is something that they're going to be called into this battle every day. And every citizen of Toms River should do what they can to help. And the biggest thing they can do is just to stay home and stay safe. At this point, I would like to open it to public comment. We have been taking questions through our website, and our assistant clerk, Destiny, will be reading those questions. They will be through the chair, and then I will either be able to respond or have one of our department heads or Mr. Guardian respond as well. But Destiny, in order for the record, we need that the person's name, street address, and town be part of, and that should be what first before you read the question. And I'm sure maybe some of them have statements. If they have a statement, we'll keep the statements to the end. We'll take the questions first.
Okay. I do have a couple of people who have written in. We have an Art Anderson of 12 Park Street. He is asking that on the meeting agenda, as per resolution number 9, it shows you plan on restricting the amount of questions to the public may ask. How do you plan to choose whose questions are answered and how long each person has?
We will try to get as many questions in as possible, Mr. Anderson, at that time. If duplicate questions come up, we're just going to say that question has been answered already.
And he actually has 2 further comments. He's
Okay.
asking about, he noticed on the agenda that we want to purchase 2 front loaders for $90,000 along with many other non-essential purchases. He feels that we should be putting a freeze on buying anything non-essential until the current pandemic is over so that we can focus on helping the community.
Okay. And Mr. Anderson, on that regard, they were replacements. They are not new equipment. It's replacing what our departments need.
Okay, and we have a question from Dennis Galanti of 1149 Cherokee Court, and these questions are more towards the budget.
Okay, then I'll ask Mr. Guardian or Alex to be able to field these questions, please, if you would take a mic.
First question is, when will the public hearing for the 2020 budget be?
A date for our public hearing and second read of the budget.
I believe it's the next council meeting on April 20th.
Yeah, it's our second meeting in April, which
That's
is
correct.
scheduled for April 28th.
He would also like to know how he can see a physical copy of the budget since the town hall is basically closed.
We would be able, Alex, go ahead.
There will be a PDF copy of the budget posted to the township website. And
Thank you.
There will be a budget advertisement also posted to direct anybody to how to obtain a copy of the introduced budget.
Thank you.
Alex, when will that be posted?
Tomorrow, Councilman.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Gallanti, the budget will be posted in a PDF form on our website sometime tomorrow, and this public hearing and the second read will be on Tuesday, April 28th, which is our last council meeting scheduled in April.
Okay, he also would like to know what the deficiency, how far down are we still on the pre-Sandy ratables? He says for the past several years, I believe there was little tax increase. Why? And can I get the ratable return figures for the last 2 years?
Okay, so he would like the rateable figures for the last 2 years.
That's all available at the Department of Community Affairs website. You can go all the way back, Mr. Gallanti, till, I don't know, early 90s or something along those lines. So you can get everything, and it's in spreadsheet, and you get every municipality.
And one last part, I'm sorry. If the 2% cap was not reached the past several years, then a cap bank was funded, and what are those figures? Do we have our 3.5% allowable surplus, and how much?
There are currently 2 caps that we have to abide by. The 1977 budget appropriation cap, which is the 3.5% that he's referring to. In the introduced budget, there is a budgetary explanatory page. It'll be page 3, or one of the sub-page 3s, 3B, 3D, I don't know off the top of my head. And the levy cap bank, the 2010 TATS law, we went off the top of my head, approximately 1.3 million we took out of the levy cap bank. You're allowed numerous adjustments to the levy cap for increases to debt service, pension obligations, and so on. Again, there will be a page in one of the page 3s that will explain the 2010 cap and what the adjustments were to reach the final tax levy.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson.
All right.
Okay.
I have I guess we're kind of more on the statements now.
Okay.
There's 2 left. We have Allison Demonic, and she is asking Toms River Township Council.
Okay, does Allison have an address?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is 221 South Court, Normandy Beach. And she's asking, regarding the stay-at-home request by the governor, there are so many seasonal residents looking to open their summer homes, therefore violating the governor's request. I know many local contractors that are being asked to turn on water in these houses. It will be very hard for contractors to turn down work in these times. I believe it is up to the township to reach out to the water companies to delay these turn-ons until the travel ban / stay-at-home order is lifted. Please help keep our full-time residents safe and curb the spread.
Okay. I'm going to pose that question to Mr. Guardian. Do we have any authority to actually reach out to a utility company and tell them not to turn on a utility?
We do not.
Okay.
There is a freeze, a 90-day freeze on paying utilities that's provided for all residents, whether it's their primary or secondary home.
Okay. Okay, so to answer Allison's question, we do not have the authority to reach out to the water company and ask them to not turn on the utilities. We would just prevail to the common sense and hopefully the support of the people, I guess the second homeowners, to wait until the ban has been lifted to come and do any work on their house in that respect.
Okay, we have a...
Council President, I'm sorry to interrupt. You said that the governor had made a ruling on short-term rentals, right, which would include
Correct.
summer rentals. So technically, there would be a violation.
Well, not if they own the home. These are second homeowners.
Right. Some of them are second homeowners, and some of them are summer rentals, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Well, if it's a rental unit, yes, that would be a violation.
And they could contact code enforcement? Who would they contact for that?
They would contact your town hall.
Town hall. Very
Yes.
good, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Logano.
Okay, we have a Sal DeFilippo who wrote in, when will our public officials finally make public statements about certain areas of town? And I'm sorry, Sal is at 1426 Palmerston Court in Toms River. Okay, so start over, sorry. When will our public officials finally make public statements about certain areas of town not following the rules of gatherings? There is a reason our numbers along Brick and Jackson are increasing. The numbers show Toms River, but not the sections of Toms River. If it can be proven wrong, then show it. Our mayor should have spoken out as soon as the first occurrences were taking place. If his neighbor is supposedly a friend, why isn't he speaking to him directly and in public to show the residents of Toms River that he is making some kind of effort? Until yesterday, when the Ocean County prosecutor spoke up, there has been nothing said.
Mayor, have you had contact with our police department, and have calls come in, and how have you handled those?
Yes, I had an email last Thursday about a bus from Lakewood in the northern section of town. I called Mayor Coles in Lakewood to ask if the schools were in fact closed. He said that they were. He indicated that the buses were being used to deliver meals, the school meals, to the children in the northern section of town. The police yesterday, I believe, or Friday, did stop a bus, and we're in contact with the prosecutor's office to investigate whether in fact they were picking up students or whether it was just a food delivery. I can tell you that looking at the map, which I get daily, that the cases are spread throughout town. They're not concentrated in any one area. There's no one central epicenter in town. They're spread pretty evenly throughout the town.
Thank you, Mayor. Destiny, do you have any more comments or questions from the
One
public?
last one from a Robert Bresman, and I respectfully ask to just forward this to the people that it is asking. It's basically, it's very long, and I'm not sure there's really a question in there, but he is requesting to meet with Don Guardian, Anthony Merlino, Dan Roderick, and Mitch Little, basically in regards to certain enforcement of laws and ordinances.
Okay. You know what to do? I would forward that right to Mr. Guardian, and would you mind reaching out to Mr. Bressman?
And that would be it.
Okay.
Move
Yeah.
to adjourn?
Wait, hold on. Nick does have his hand up.
Alazar Zoriju, Toms River Business Improvement District. I'd like to just provide a few quick updates regarding some activity regarding our events downtown, and also an update regarding the COVID-19 outbreak. First and foremost, health and safety is our #1 priority for the Business Improvement District. Although our offices have been closed off to the public, we are still in very close communication with the Ocean County Health Department and standing by to communicate whatever resources we need to help out in any way possible. As a liaison to local government for local businesses, we know that these businesses want to help wherever possible, and we hope to connect those dots if and when the time comes. Although our offices are closed, please be aware that our employees are still working from home or rotating into the office, and our essential maintenance and sanitation is still being accomplished. The downtown shops at 53 Main, our retail incubator on Main Street, are closed until further notice due to the governor's shutdown. And on the other side of things, the economic relief and business promotion side of it is very important to us as well. The Federal CARES Act is still being rolled out, and there will be serious incentives and relief for our small businesses and nonprofits. As a nonprofit, the bid will likely be applying for the Paycheck Protection Program, and we'll look to provide guidance with the help of our partners in local government and banking. The state also has an economic development authority that's putting out a lot of resources that we are working to share and help other businesses utilize. And on a local level, we know much more is going to come out from the chamber, the township, and the county, but from the bids perspective, we're actively sharing information right now. We're trying to promote the local businesses, whatever advertisements they're putting out through our website, social media, and email. And finally, we have plans in place, or we're building up plans to begin to provide guidance to help navigate the economic relief programs as they come online. Finally, a quick update on our events. Our monthly think tank, which is meant for local stakeholders, has been on hold indefinitely. We'll probably look to move that to a virtual platform in April. Our chili cook-off, scheduled for May 16th, will be postponed. We've already been communicating with Allison in the clerk's office and our public safety officials and partners who help us with that whole program, obviously our vendors and cooks too. We will look to hold the event in the fall as long as things clear up in time. And then we'll work on that date on what's available with our local government agencies. Finally, the farmers market appears to be an essential service. So we are working with the local health department, our vendors, and our businesses to figure out if we can keep that on as scheduled starting in mid-May. So more information to come out about that as we get closer to it. And all other events, when it comes to cruising, Huddy Park Game Night, Summer in the Street, and beyond, are to be determined. We'll keep everyone in the loop as best we can, and thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you for keeping us informed and for keeping the public informed and advocating for the business community. Okay?
Thank you, Council President.
Okay, at this time, no further business. Can we?
Move to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
7:42.
As soon as you know, you just let me. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Marie. Sure. You let me know and I'll be there.